Listen, by far, this is the biggest game for two organizations in the ELF, in their existence in the ELF, going down this weekend in Austria, right? We got the Central Conference on the line. We got the third place on the line. We got a home playoff game on the line. Who's gonna step up? All right, we gonna find out. All right, base coverage. Let's go.
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just parking out. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on this weekend in week 13 in the ELF. But welcome to base coverage, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in. Presented to you by Knoah Teamwear. I'm your host, Jamal Clay. Per usual, please, I thank all your support. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, share with a friend, and let's keep these conversations rolling. All right. Hey, week 13. It's almost time for the playoffs. And there's a lot going on the line for a couple teams, and we're going to dive into those matchups, especially the big one we got going on in Innsbrook as the Stuttgart Surge are heading to play the Raiders with everything on the line, right? Third place, home field advantage, right? Conference championship. Who wants it? That's basically what it's going to come down to, but we'll dive into that game a little bit as we head towards that. So, one thing I do want to start doing, or maybe we'll get this thing rolling, but I'm gonna start sending out a locker room clip of the week from past weekends games, right? And the first nominee we got this week, it's no surprise, we're heading down to Munich, all right, and we're gonna check out this run by Mr. Glenn Tunga. So he's gonna get the first nominee for locker room clip of the week. As you can see, starts with a handoff, makes first guy miss. Whoop! There we go. Gets a little groovy on the run, thinks he scores, and then a little teammate Justin Edwards dives in and is like, "Yo, let me see that ball, man." All right. I thought it was a fumble. Apparently the ball crossed the line, but I'm always gonna ride with the defense. But I'm sure Glenn's learned his lesson, but I thought that was hilarious watching that game. He thought he was so smooth running in. Justin was like, "Nah, I ain't having that, cuz I ain't having that." So shout out to Glenn getting the locker room clip of the week this past weekend in Munich. So we're about to dive into these games a little bit. There's a lot to get into. I'll try to keep it, short and sweet for the most part. But again, there's a lot on the line for two teams in particular. So we'll dive into that. And week 13, our picks, our breakdowns brought to you by First Down Magazine. Shout out to those guys over there, bringing you all types of football across American football across all of Europe. And the first game we're going to start with Munich versus Milan. All right. Markel Castle going back home, so to say, right? He's probably front runner for offensive player of the year. He's been putting on a spectacular season. One of the first to hit 1,000 yards. He's going back to Milan to play the Seamen. The thing I'm curious about, first of all, Munich's going to win this game, but the thing I'm curious about is how Milan finishes, right? They're not playing for anything essentially, but you could build some momentum heading into the offseason, heading into next season, coming off your first year in the ELF. So how do they finish? I think it has potential to be a shootout. With the way Milan scores and with the way Munich can score. But I'm gonna rock with Munich to go to Milan and get the dub. There's still a chance for the Ravens to make the playoffs. Very slim, but we'll see what happens. Next game we want to dive into the Enthroners and the Vikings. So first thing I want to say is I'm sorry, the Enthroners. I'm sorry, Kevin Doyle. You guys got a well-deserved win over Prague last week. Obviously, not the competitive, not the team, to gloat about, but a win is a win. You guys fought for that. Good for you guys. But I am not apologizing this week. You guys are going to Vienna. Vikings are going to get this win. They're just, I could confidently say that they are the better team. But what I want to see is the Enthroners compete. Similar to Milan, you could build some momentum heading into the offseason. I want to see how the Enthroners hold up offensively on the line. And regardless of the score, I just want to see them compete. So I'm going to rock with the Vikings to win this game and maybe sharpen up some things heading into the playoffs, even though looks like they are heading towards a first round bye. All right. Next thing we got Barcelona traveling to Paris. All right. I want to believe in the Dragons so bad. I just can't. And Paris is a team that's been playing very well as of late. They build a lot of momentum in the second half of the season. They started off with a ton of hype. A lot of teams thought that this was going to be the team to possibly win in the West. But you could see with the difficulties and the task of building a new team from scratch, right? There's not a lot of chemistry there to begin with. You got to learn the players. You got to learn, plays to call, how your team reacts. So it was all a learning experience for Paris. But make no mistake about it. Heading into year two for Paris, they're heading into 2024 with a lot of momentum, especially with the way that they've been finishing this season. I think, the expectations we had for them in year one would be fair to have some of those expectations heading into their second year with the ELF. So we'll see there. But on the Barcelona side, they have the talent to compete, but they just need to get better up front. There's no mistake about it. They're very one-dimensional. If you're gonna have Connor throw the ball 50 times a game, you gotta have him some protection, whether that's bringing in a tight end to help with some protection, using big running backs to chip. Adrian Jimenez, that would have been a good guy to bring back to add some depth or add some strength when it comes to blocking. But we'll see what happens. But ultimately, it's gonna be interesting. In terms of how this game turns out. I think it's going to be high scoring, but I think Paris is going to pull this off. Like I said, they've been finishing the season strong. They're back at home. They're gelling well. Paris is a team that's going to be scary heading into 2024, and they're going to get this win versus the Barcelona Dragons. All right, here we go. This is the First Down Magazine Athletes Forum Game of the Week. We are going to Innsbrook, where the Central is on the line. Third place is on the line as of right now, because I don't think either team is going to catch one or two. Right, a home playoff game is on the line. Right, everything is on the line for both these teams. All right, on one hand, you got a Stuttgart team. Riley Hennessy coming back. Obviously, he had a pretty good game last week, 300 yards, couple of interceptions, but 2 touchdowns. He's back behind center, right? This game is what you bring in the Jordan Newman for, is what you bring a Lewis Geyer back, is what you sign Riley Hennessy, bringing guys from Schwabish Hall to build the culture, to change the culture, for this game right here, right? This is the first time for Stuttgart, a team, they actually have something to play for this late in the season, and everything is on the line. They're going to make the playoffs regardless, I think. But this is the game that you want to win, because this is the game that's going to change. The culture's already been changed, but this is the game that defines, all right, the Surge are going to be a team going forward for years to come, that they're not just a one-year wonder. You got to win the Central, and you got to do it in Austria, right? On the other hand, you got a Raiders team that one of the most historic franchises in all of Europe, right? They lost a 6-3 battle last time, a tough matchup. Defense played well. Big changes for the Raiders, right? You part ways with your quarterback Christian Strong, and Jarvis McClam, right? Why do you do it? You do it for this game right here, right? You bring in a Travion Sidney, you bring back an Alex Ferrari, you bring back a Joe Dolanchik, right? So if you don't win this game, all those are for nothing. Right, you got to win this game. You got to protect home field. Your defense, since the bye week, has been giving up 13.5 points per game, right? So this game is all on the offense. The offense only scored 3 points last game. If you're going to win, you got to put up points this game, right? So can they finish a job? You have no choice. You got to go finish a job, and you got to go win at home, right? With that being said, I'm rocking with the Surge. I don't think the Raiders are going to finish the job. I think offensively, if it's a high-scoring game, it's definitely going to favor the Surge. I think the defense could play, pound for pound with the Raiders. So I still think the Raiders find a way to make the playoffs, but obviously they're going to have to win the following week. But I think the Surge secure the Central this week, clinch a playoff spot, and get that third seed in the playoffs. All right, heading to the Sunday slate, Frankfurt versus Hamburg. Frankfurt still has a lot to play for, right? And they're drawing a lot of similarities between the first year Frankfurt team losing a big game, right? They lost to Rhine, but they've been on a win streak ever since. They've been hot ever since, right? And Frankfurt could not only they could still win the West, they could still clinch a 1 or 2 seed based on their record too, if they could win out, right? Because you could lock up the 1 or the 2 seed depending on how things play out. So a lot of weird things have been happening with Frankfurt. I was high on them in the beginning. I fell off a little bit, especially middle of the week, just based on transactions and how they've been playing against certain teams, not knowing if your quarterback is going to be active or if he is active, if he's going to play. So we'll see. Hamburg, first time in ELF history, right? I say like it's been long. First time in ELF history, we won't have Hamburg in the playoffs, right? Are we going to get a Mo Mack on the center or going to get Isaiah Green, right? How's Hamburg finish the season, right? Because I know, with the coaches that they have there and, their mindset, they're going to work to get this thing turned around in the offseason. And this is one of the teams that I'm going to be most interested in about heading into 2024. But how are you going to finish this season? How are you going to play against Frankfurt when you have nothing to play for and they have everything to play for, right? This game has to mean something to both teams, essentially. Pride on the line, a season on the line. I'm going to rock with Frankfurt to win this game, but I want to see Hamburg play Frankfurt tough, and I want to see a close game here. So next game we got Paris versus Cologne. Prague versus Cologne. This is going to be a quick one. Prague, if we had an ELF draft, Prague is officially on the clock. All right. They would have the number 1 pick. They finished in last in the league. Cologne, they beat the Lions first time, and despite their record this year, I'm proud in terms of like the culture that has changed around there, the narrative that's changed around there. Now, again, this is another team that has to have a good offseason, because I think a couple things go a different way. They could be competing. They could be in a Munich situation. I think best case scenario is Cologne should have been in a Munich situation this year. There were a couple games that I think they should have won, but needless to say that they've been playing hard football. Let's see how they finish the season, and so let's see what happens this week versus Prague. I don't think they're going to get the win versus Prague. So we'll see how things pan out. All right. Last game we got, the Rhine Fire travel to Switzerland to play the Guards. Hey, listen, we all know, they have an MVP candidate. They have the good coach. They have the offensive coordinator. The defense is great. They have one of the top running backs, top offensive line. We know who the Rhine Fire are. But the Guards have been surprising people not all season, but they've been playing well the second half of the season. So I'm rocking with the Guards to win. Listen, this is the last home game, right? They barely even played the Fire the first time. They didn't even have a quarterback. We had Silas and Cedar back there, right? We gave that game essentially away to the Fire, right? We're coming off a bye week. People saw what we did against Surge when we counted them out, and they had to come to Switzerland to play us, right? We don't know the health of wide receiver Anthony Mfongu. I got Marcio Beard and Ken Hike Jr., my 1-2 punch at corner. So we're ready to strap up. Adrian Clark, this is the game he slips, right? 3,184 passing yards, not this week, right? 45 touchdowns on the way to 50, not this week. MVP, not this week. 2-time offensive player of the week, not this week, right? I'm rocking with the Guards, baby. I'm rocking with the Guards this week. We got to pull this upset off. And you know what? Let's see what happens in good old Switzerland. So thank you guys for tuning in. Drop a comment, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and this won't be the last time we chop it up. Week 13, as we are heading into week 14, which would be the last week of the season. There's going to be a couple close games to keep an eye on, but we'll see what happens. But, hey, shout out to Guards' last home game. Great season thus far. Fire's going down.
Hard work, they don't know about it. Hard work, they don't know about it. Hard work, they don't know about it. Animal.